Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome to another video brought to you by Total Control Traders. This is the first video of a brand new series, the weekly stock pick video. Now, although it's not the most ideal time to be starting a weekly stock pick or any sort of its kind, let alone starting the first of a series. Due to the market pullback, and it's always the hardest to determine which tickers, which stocks are going to bounce the most, which one's going to bounce better than the rest of the market or the rest of the other stocks you're looking at. So, regardless, I wanted to make sure that we get this series started this weekend as opposed to any further delays, as it's a big part of the value add and a big part of the thank you for everyone's support for watching, subscribing, and sharing our channel to help us reach over 200 subscribers. Now let's get right into it. This week I have 5 stocks picked out that I will be focusing on next week, and with additional of 3 that I will be watching over the span of next week. All right, first one, Airbnb. Notable relative strength as markets pulling back. The only time that affected by the market was yesterday, Friday. We saw a slight pullback. So we were rejecting from this GP. Big, nice news. I think this was news. Yeah, I think it was news. Can't remember what news it was. Nice bullish action. Next day, went to the GP. Slight rejection and a slight coming back, holding that 88. The chart is strong. It did not see a complete gap fill to back here, or I guess it wasn't really a gap, but regardless, it was holding the 88, and we are now over the GP. We're now over the 1-to-1 extension target. Let's take a look at this. So 1-to-1 extension target was at 163.95. We are now over it. With the pullback on Friday, what I'm anticipating now is potentially another back test to this 88, which also lines up with his GP rejection. That would be an ideal re-entry. Smaller sizing first re-entry on Airbnb. Would anticipate further upside on this to come. 0.786 lines up with the top of the key zone at 171.77. 1 to 1.272 extension at 170. So there's not seeing an exact reason of rejection from Friday 168.24 aside from the market pullback. This is going to be one of the top watch, our first stock pick ever. Okay, do note our first stock pick. Keep an eye on Airbnb. Next is Dkng. Next up, Dkng. All right, similar idea. We were watching this Gartley. Well, we weren't watching, but we noticed this Gartley pattern, and then we were watching it from one of these 2 days. We're playing it from one of these 2 days. Pullback to 0.382, extremely strong chart. Pullback to 0.5. Very nice move since. We have seen a 27.3% move ever since that last daily higher low. So it makes sense that we're coming back to another daily higher low. We would want to see that. Friday was a bearish engulfing candlestick. From here, what I anticipate most ideal entry would be around that 0.382 at 59.29. Yeah, that looks right. So this is one possible scenario. Another possible scenario, you may be thinking, why would you enter if that is the scenario you're looking at? What could happen from here, 0.382 touch and just straight over to 0.786. That could be based on the trend, I would say that's actually the more likely scenario. And this is the less likely scenario. So thus the dashed line or the dotted line. Anyways, Dkng gonna be our second stock pick for next week. Keeping an eye on this, want to see what the pullback looks like based on Friday. Would anticipate further pullback, follow through on Monday, Tuesday. Of course, as many of you know, if you're not in the full position, that is amazing. There's going to be some great opportunities coming up, and as many of you already know, I am currently in about 90% cash position, waiting for this pullback. And since I think I sold on Thursday. Anyways, really excited for what's coming up next. Gonna have to watch very closely. A lot of these stock picks are gonna be dependent on what the market does if a real pullback starts. So let's take a quick look at SPX. We're looking at potentially 0.386. We did lose on Friday already, so the most ideal entry is coming up right here on market. Let's see, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, next 3 days, we should see a touch of this area. That would be a most ideal entry. Even Monday, actually. Monday, we might just see it. Anyways, so that's the second one, Dkng. Next one is Amazon. So the third stock pick of our first video, brand new series, we're looking at Amazon. The reason why we're looking at Amazon is because of this double wolf pattern that we have been discussing relentlessly. Long-term sideways action, over a year of sideways action. We saw a breakdown fake out. So there was a trend line from back here. There's a base holding from back here. A breakdown fake out into a breakout fake out. News, earnings, I think there's also CEO changing, and also on top of a decent earnings. So huge gap down, coming right back down to the GP, holding that GP. So the anticipation from here due to market pullback is like this. And this was forecasted back from Wednesday, not even the close of Wednesday, as you can tell, is middle of the candle. So the anticipation is coming back to revisit this previous support resistance after the gap down earning. So from here, revisit 3400s before a next leg up, going into new all-time high. And with new all-time high, I'm looking at this GP 1 to GP extension based on this last move. Pandemic low to the high to the pullback, the low of the pullback. 1 to GP extension, we are looking at over 4K. So it may not be a one-shot move, but there is huge potential on this chart. Third pick of our next week. One after, the fourth, we're looking at Visa. So Visa, amazing setup, amazing support resistance area we're looking at. So previously, we have seen 5 rejections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections from this white trend line here, long-term trend line. And we've also seen 1 support. And now we're seeing a second support with slight bounce so far. So it could very well be a repeat of this pattern right here. Let's circle this too. Right. So if you look at the last time that we came to this white support line for a bounce, it came, touched it, bounce of 4% before a gap down and straight buy from there. So we touched the trend line, bounce of almost 4%, 3.7, and now we're potentially coming back down again. So I might actually move this, knowing where, what was that? Let's make sure we're prepared, well prepared for this. So it looks like it's just below the 0.786. Let's do the same thing here. The high of the bounce just below the 0.786 upon a gap down on Monday. Yeah, upon the gap down on Monday, I would anticipate that this is going to be a very nice entry on Visa for long term, whether it's going to be portfolio hold or you're just looking at a swing trade. Make sure you're watching, predetermining where your stops are. You can even use a trailing stop, considering of the same pattern that's going to be, this is what we're going to be expecting. If the same pattern, just use a trailing stop, however you want to do it. Let's see. So the high, you can, just as an example, trailing stop probably about 3-4% kind of thing. Unless you know what you're doing, unless you're gonna be active on it, in and out. So out over here, in over here, kind of thing. But yeah, Visa, our fourth pick coming up for next week. And last but definitely not least, as majority of you know, we are in this trade. We have been in this trade for quite some time. It is a slow mover so far, and the reason why we're still in it, even though it's been slow, is the anticipation that we're going to be seeing, I do believe we're going to be seeing revisiting the previous highs, if not making new all-time high on PLTR eventually. So with this, eventually, I'm not talking a year, 2 year down the road. Ideally, what I'm looking at is by the end of the year, beginning of next year kind of thing. So with PLTR, originally we were looking at potentially a retouch of this upper trend line of this previous channel alongside this GP, but because the pullback came a little bit earlier on Wednesday, we were unable to touch that area that we're looking for. The limit order that I had, 24.98, I took it off because I wanted to see what the following action looks like. That would have been a very nice swing trade itself. 2 cents off the bottom. You're looking at what, 7%? Whoo, 7% bounce. Even if I didn't nail it, 5%. It's still a decent swing trade over 2 days. 5% on common shares, 2 days trade. Hey, would you say no to that? Right? So with this, what I'm looking at essentially from here now, this is a close. Let's obviously this is a very notable trend line that we, hey, where did I have it drawn to before? Okay, so it was to just under, somewhere around here. So there is still a potential that we're going to touch 2 more days. If we see some decent bearish action coming in, 2 more days making a new low, we should see maybe not. I'm going to watch for that 30-minute hourly bull divergence. If we do come down to the new low here at GP, 30-minute might make a bull divergence. Hourly is seemingly kind of unlikely, but gonna be keeping regardless, it is a stock pick that we're gonna be going for next week, so keeping a very close eye on this over next week. Another one, so those are the 5 stock picks that we came up with for next week, September 13th to 17th. One other thing to note for next week is next Friday is monthly option expiry. Generally, that means prices are pinned. They're going to be pinned at a predetermined area. Maximum paying, for those of you who don't know, that's where the maximum paying for both call owners as well as call holders as well as put holders, where it's going to inflict the max paying for both of them. So on top of that, next Friday is also quad witching hours. Interestingly enough, the last one we did not see increased volatility like one would generally expect, but I would still expect increased volatility coming next Friday. So we might have to refrain from trading all next week just to let the market settle itself first. Regardless, those are the 5 tickers that we're going to be watching next week. On top of which, a few just to honorable mentions. First one, of course, always Tesla. Always going to be watching Tesla. Tesla pays the bills. Tesla, Roku, 2 tickers that really pay the bills for over 2020, 2021 for a majority of the traders. So from here, we are looking at, essentially, when I was looking at this was a rejection. It didn't exactly go straight line like we were anticipating. It came back up, touched this resistance of 762 2 more times before an actual rejection on Friday. So essentially, it is still on that line. We are looking at 3 potential bounce spots, either the 0.382, the 0.5, or the GP. GP would line up with the lower trend line, the must hold short-term trend line. 0.5 would line up with the money line, and then 0.382, hey, if the chart is strong, 0.382, more than happy to buy it. So honorable mention number 1. Next one is space. There's a very nice move potentially coming on space, whether it's going to be bullish or bearish. We are right on that money line. If we're looking at this chart, you know, depending on how you draw it, you could say that it's bounced from the money line twice already. Essentially, they're right now, let's see, is there a daily bull divergence? 2382. There is a daily bull divergence. So the low to that low. Yeah, so there is a daily bull divergence on space right now, and if follow through we're seeing, we will be breaking over key resistance trend lines, whether it's this shorter term one or this longer term one. Friday we saw a break over the long term one, but then the market started pulling back, so then essentially it became a breakout fake out. And coming Monday, Tuesday, Monday, if we were to see bullish action, immediately breaking over these two trend lines, that is going to be a trade that's going to be coming. Should potentially pay a lot on space. Keep your eyes out on space. And if it does break bear, without follow through, there is still a chance of it reverting back up. Okay, and the last on the honorable mention, but definitely not least, is Peloton. Peloton, we were looking at this money line, GP, lost it, fake out, breakdown, fake out. From there, 2 days of bounce. What was this one? Was it news on this one? I think there was news on this Thursday candle. I can't remember now. I know there's news on this Friday candle. Something about clothing line. So 3 days bounce of 23.47%. A heck of a lot better than the PLTR we were just looking at. Regardless, you know, what I would be anticipating from here on Peloton is a little bit of a pullback. Even if on Monday we were to see follow through, there is resistance coming up on a key zone resistance 120ish. Would anticipate a rejection from there. If we don't make new highs on Monday, would anticipate an inside bar from here. It is bullish news on Peloton, and the must hold trend line, the GP has both and the key zone all been held. From here, I would anticipate daily higher low, daily higher high into a daily trend change. So keep your eyes on Peloton as well. Now, let's see where the pullback looks like. So it was a double bottom too. Wow. Okay. So if we're looking at a potential pullback on Peloton, the scenario that I would be looking at, not a very strong support resistance along this line, eh? GP actually would make sense. Yeah, GP would make sense. So this is the possible scenario that I'm looking at for Peloton. It could drag it out. They could drag it out like that. But yeah, chart looks great. 23% bounce. Potential for quite a bit more upside. All right, so that's it for this weekend ticker stock pick video. My goodness. Really need to get used to that new title. The weekly stock pick video. Just to re-emphasize, Airbnb, Dkng, Amazon, Visa, Palantir, those are the top 5 stock picks with honorable must-watches of Tesla, Space, Peloton. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe and share our channel with those that you think may benefit. I will see you guys on the next video. Have a great weekend, guys.